Well, here's the reason why we need to go straight into it. It's because you will be paying more for fuel effective midnight, a couple of hours from now, after the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority reviewed the pump prices on account of higher landed cost of petroleum products.
A litre of super petrol increases by 8 shillings and 99 cents. Diesel is up 8 shillings and 67 cents, while kerosene goes up by 9 shillings and 65 cents.
Now, the landed cost of petroleum products increased by more than 6.27%, while the shilling remained stable, averaging 129 shillings and 62 cents to the dollar.
The hike in pump prices has been announced despite Mudburn crude oil prices dropping to an average of $67.73 per barrel in June 2025, the lowest in more than a year.
wameleta wengine, hao sio wenye walikuwa labda. Tunawajua. Hawa waondoke wataidi.
Justice, we need justice.
Na mama na baba. Mtapigwa na pimbo hata nyinyi na watoto wenu. Justice for jury. Justice for jury. Justice for jury. Justice for jury. Uwe kote. Justice for jury. Justice for jury. Justice for jury.
The only person who came in the police station is Bwana DCC na mapolisi wale wakubwa kwa na mawe makubwa wakaniambia I play cool so that we don't take this thing up. What about tomorrow? What about the children tomorrow? Julia amekuwa na inatafanya nini?
Wale mambo. Anyone take any opportunity to explain to you what
No,
exactly
no, I need explanation right now. Nataka niambiwe Julia aliuliwa na nani? And what did she do? I know, it's hard for me. Huyu ni mtoto wangu wa kwanza. Yeah, mbegu ya Kariuki ya kwanza ndio hii. Wameua. Na Kariuki ni chief hapa anamulia mtoto. Even what he is doing as a chief, he should quit from that stupid chief. Yeah, for that 30,000. Atoke. Atoke.
Hapa Liki Village. Leo tulikuwa tunakuja kutafuta haki. Na vile mnaona hapa nyuma maaskari wamejaa, wanataka kublock tusifanye peaceful demonstration ya kumuna wale familia walipoteza watoto wao. Mmoja kijana ni wa form 3 bingwa secondary, mwingine naye alipigwa kwa cell, akiwa kwa cell hadi by the time alikuwa anapelekwa prison kukoja cash bail yake akakuwa akona head injuries na akona internal bleeding na akaaga. Sasa tunataka haki kwa sababu haki tusipotokea sisi wote kutafuta haki tutauawa sisi wote, na hata leo ni kama wamejipanga, wameamua hatutaandamana, wameamua hakuna haki tutatafuta, ni kama wako tayari kutuua sisi wote.
you are the president and you're telling people, ambia hao watu wagani walikuchagua, na kama hawakukuchagua wamekubali, you are the president. So our president must tone down. Our president must realize that he's the father. How does a father speak in the house? Hey, mzee, how do you speak in your house? Hey, mzee, how do you speak in your house? I mean, he's the father. And the father doesn't go and say, ambia hao watoto wangu wako hapo nje, wajipange. You don't say that. Ati kwa sababu watoto wako wamekukosea wako hapo nje, unaambia, ambia hao watoto gani? Mama. You know, ambia huyo mama na ni bibi yako. No, the president must tone down and you must realize that things are not the way he's supposed to.
Tell me, because well,
and not only the president, even Rigathi Gachagua, when he goes to America and we hear him speak, and he's my friend, but I speak as it is. When we see Rigathi Gachagua in America, talking about a certain member of parliament in Kenya, I sit and wonder, so, you know, I mean, what kind of leadership are we offering? To me, one term is a one term. We have already finished with the President William Ruto. We have finished. We are actually allowing him to park pole, park slowly, and live honorably through the Constitution.
So what is the solution?
The solution between now and 2027 is for William Ruto to return the money that his government has looted, so that we can be able to fill up the gaps that are there.
Do you know
we need William Ruto in the next budget to allow Parliament to do what they're supposed to do, to fund the independent commissions. Because William Ruto's government has unfortunately defunded all the independent commissions so that they can be toothless to deal with his errors of commission and omission. And when I say like this, Sam, I am the outgoing chair of the committee that oversees a lot of those independent commissions. The National Land Commission, Are
you outgoing or former?
I am outgoing. I'm still outgoing. There are still bills I'm still executing from that committee, so I'm outgoing. I've not yet, but anyway, I'm former. Let us say I'm former.
Okay.
Whatever it is. But whatever I'm trying to say is that we need William Ruto to start packing to leave and allow Parliament to be what it is for the next 2 years. If really he wants peace, he must allow Parliament to be Parliament, so that we can fund the relevant bodies that are supposed to.
Is there desire in Parliament to be Parliament?
Hold on. So that he can allow Parliament to fund the organizations that are supposed to keep the right checks and balances for his government. As we speak right now, my sister was asking about the NCIC, the cohesion. How do you expect them to work without budgets?
But they have.
We have defunded them. We have defunded every other independent commission in this country that is supposed to be working. All they do is say, we have salaries, but you have no money to operate. So how do we check the government if those kind of organizations are defunded? William Ruto has 2 years to fund back health, because he has defunded health. From what Kibaki regime did, from what Uhuru did, he has defunded health. William Ruto has 2 years to fund back HELB, higher education load boards, so that our students can continue going to school and lower the anger. In fact, William Ruto has 2 years to lower the anger of the young people. William Ruto has 2 years to return the money that is supposed to be given to the pensioners. That is why they are annoyed. They need their money. He has 2 years. So we are giving him 2 years to park slowly and return back to the functioning, what do you call, default mode? Yes, you need to return Kenya to default mode.
All right, I hear you, Mheshimiwa Mushomba. Let's listen to what the President said in terms of what he believes is part of the challenge in the social fabric of the country that has affected the political climate.
Hatungefika hapa vipi kama viongozi wa kanisa, viongozi wa siasa, viongozi wengine wote wanashiriki katika mambo ambayo inafanya vijana wa taifa letu la Kenya kufanya mambo ya maandamano. Tunawa encourage, tunawachochea wananchi wa Kenya waende kwa mabarabara. Wakifika huko mabarabarani, mambo yale ya barabarani inachukua mstari wa mbele. Mimi nataka niwaulize, and I must say this with clarity. leaders, religious leaders, political leaders, please, let us not incite the young people of our nation into situations that violence, lawlessness, destruction of property, loss of life become the order of the day.
Right, that's the president. He was speaking over the weekend about the situation in the country, blaming the church leaders or the religious leaders of the situation. But he had also some prescription on what should be done on the streets. Watch.
Mtu ambaye anachukua moto anaenda kuchoma biashara ya mtu, anaenda kuchoma mali ya watu wengine. Mtu kama huyo apigwe risasi miguu, aende hospitali, akienda kotini. Yes. Yeah.
So, Mheshimiwa Mondi, when you hear such kind of voices and conversations, because the president also, I think it was yesterday or the day before, he was also saying that parents are afraid of their children. They're no longer telling them the truth. They're no longer guiding them. I don't know if that's true, but we appear like we are very keen on looking for who to blame more than looking for the solution.
Yeah, I think if you come into Kenya at this particular moment, and I mean if you've not been living here, and you walk into Kenya, what you find is a citizenry at war with their government, and a government at war with its citizens. I mean, that's the impression you get. And when actually it should be the opposite. When citizens should be at peace with their government, the government should be at peace with its citizens. There's a lot of blame game going on here and there. And basically what it tells you is that there is no coherence at the leadership level as to how the present challenges should be addressed. I think that is what is coming out. Everybody is blaming the other. The religious groups, the civil society groups are blaming the government is blaming them, parents are being blamed. That is a state of confusion because there's no clarity of thought among the leadership segments. There's been this call for dialogue, and personally, I've been thinking along those lines, and I think there should be some national discussion, national discourse on how to de-escalate the situation, because certain fundamentals we know, those who are opposed to the current administration have to wait until 2027 to vote, because the Constitution gives us those pathways. But how do we de-escalate the current situation and bring the peace that is necessary between the government and the citizens? So this thing that has been proposed as a conclave or whatever it is being called, the national dialogue, I think we need to interrogate it very deeply. For me, I think the time for it is not there yet, because to have a good dialogue that is productive, you must first create the right climate for it. So there should be some form of de-escalation of the tensions. And I think that is something that should come from both ways. The government should find a way of de-escalating the tensions between it and the people must also begin to realize what is it that we need to do. But much of the work is on the part of the government to find a way of setting the right climate for this discussion. Because if the right climate is not there, there will be no dialogue.
How would they do it?
I'll come to that.
Yeah.
My way of looking at it is that first we need to avoid the usual suspects. And by usual suspects, I mean the usual political leaders, the usual religious leaders, the usual... we've had so many dialogues.
Yeah.
Do you remember we once had Nairobi, we want, Kenya, we want... I've seen them.
Yeah.
My first dialogue appearance was in 1990 in KICC before Saitoti led committee that repealed Section 2A. I think I was the second person to appear there and present my views. So I've seen all these dialogues. But we are dealing with a new generation here. Gen Zs will not come to a dialogue that is led by the usual suspects. And Gen Zs will not come to a dialogue that is being modeled on the traditional setup that we know, the bombers type of dialogue and those kind of things. And Jay-Z's will not give you their leaders because of the tensions we have in the country. They do not want to expose their heads because with orders of shoot your legs, shoot to kill, and all these kind of things, they will not come out. Yeah. So this is a new type of dialogue that people have to sit down and figure out. And for me, I think, because I see Gen Zs having their dialogues every day online, 20,000 people, sometimes even 100,000 people attending. I think this dialogue will have to be online. And this idea that we are going to get people from counties, 40 people, 1,800 people, is going to be too expensive. Yeah. Look at the amount of money. And what are we going to dialogue about? That has also not been said. Yeah. Yes, you cannot start summoning people to Nairobi to a dialogue where the agenda has not been set. Because a lot of people, if you look at the...
So who sets that agenda? Because, I don't know, when you said that usual suspects should not be there, yes. One of the main proposals has come from Raila Odinga. Yes. Who has been through quite a couple of them. Yes. So who sets the agenda or the terms of reference, as you say?
I think the agenda for national dialogue have been set by the Gen Zs. Yeah. We already know the agenda. It is not a political question. Yeah. Yes, it is not about political structures. It's not about political organization. It is an economic question. What the Gen Zs are fighting over is lost opportunities. They don't have jobs. They don't have incomes. The high cost of living. Yeah. And that is the kind of dialogue that we should have. I think there are three things that Gen Zs want us to talk about. Yeah. One is endemic corruption. We need to discuss that. The second one is this idea of negative ethnicity. And the third one is delivering the economic promise of our independence. In other words, giving them jobs, giving them incomes, giving them opportunities, and taking them away from living through the cracks of society, yeah, on whatever has been left hanging loose on the table. Yeah. These are questions that you cannot explore and interrogate with the usual suspects. Yeah. Yes. That is why I'm saying this dialogue has to be led by a new group of people in this country, preferably technocrats who are economists, yes, people who have expertise on how to rejig our economy. And what should we do with our economy? There's an issue of state capture. Why isn't our economy creating jobs? Why isn't our economy helping our youth realize their dreams? We have issues of state capture in this economy. That is something that requires experts to deal with, not the usual suspects. That's why I'm saying they should keep away from this process and allow very knowledgeable people to deal with these questions. We have issues of corruption. All the laws are there. Just implement the laws. But that is not enough. Yeah. Yeah? It is now time to look at a new way of dealing with corruption in this country. And I've suggested in other forums that probably it is time to open up our investigative agencies, yes, and allow external help to come in and help us deal with investigation of corruption cases and their prosecution. We did this when we were setting up the new constitution. We actually brought in experts to help us. Yeah. We even set up special courts, and we allowed other parameters.
So with all that, for it to have any bearing, yes, it would require a bit of being attached or being led by law. Yes. That may require parliament. That may require presidential action.
No, the first dialogue does not require any law. Yes, because if you pitch it that way, then the usual suspects will capture it and bring it to parliament, and the political parties will hijack it. Okay. And that is where you have the most incompetent people. Yeah. The dialogue we now need is a national discussion on how to reorganize our economy. I'll give you an example, Sam. Yeah. We have Vision 2030. It is coming to an end in 5 years. But there's no discussion on what will take over from Vision 2030. Yeah. There's no review going on. There's nobody giving us a new economic blueprint. So that is the discussion we need to have. You don't need a lot to do that. Yes. Okay. We need to allow Gen Zs. I mean, if we had economists like Kwame Owino and the rest of them leading a process like that, we will get a very good economic blueprint that deals with the competitiveness of the economy, deals with issues like debt and taxes, how to handle cost of living, because these are the real issues. These are not political questions for politicians to come and tell us about what they think should be done. Okay, we need experts.
I hear you. Yeah. Yet some of these issues, if Parliament was working as it should, these are questions that would have already been dealt with, don't you think?
But it is not working as it should. Okay. So that we need the dialogue.
I'll get back to you, because I need also to hear from you what you think about, because every other regime that has come in since 2010 10 has come up with a manifesto, gives it a name, whether it's a Big Four agenda or it's a BETA.
I've been involved in all these manifestos.
Sorry, I'm just saying, because now it looks like those are taking the place of a vision. But first, what are the religious leaders saying about the way forward?
Ningependa tu serikali iweze kukubali kusikiza na kuongea na washikadau wote ili tuweze kujua ni namna gani tutaweza kujikwamua katika janga hili. Maandamano ya kila siku kweli hayataweza kuleta suluhu.
That even as we exercise our constitutional rights, that we don't destroy our beautiful nation. We have noted the good effort that were initiated by sober and patriotic young people have been infiltrated by elements, now dirty goods, who have gone into causing insecurity and destruction of property.
Kenya ni urithi wetu na pamoja kutoka kwa Mungu, na ni wajibu wetu kulinda taifa hili kupitia uzalendo.
O God of all creation, bless this our land and nation. Justice our shield and defender. May we dwell in unity, liberty, and plenty be found within our borders.
Indeed, the prayer in the national anthem. Mheshimiwa Kitani, so everyone is skeptical. The religious leaders are also skeptical. Yet, very good proposals coming from Karoli Omondi. So how do you take it forward, in your opinion, knowing that it appears that Kenyans are not happy with the political class? They don't have a lot of faith.
Allow me first to start with where Mheshimiwa Mushomba talked about that many of these institutions that we have set up are being starved of cash. That could be further from the truth, because if we look at our pocket in terms of how much money do we have and the various sectors that are being given money. I think if you remember, when we were doing the last budgets, even the monies that were going to the education sector for examinations, the committee had to make a lot of noise so that some money can be removed from somewhere else to put there. We are dealing with a small pocket. And in that small pocket, we are sharing it across all institutions and saying, with the little that you get, do your, let's see how best you can do your job. Because there are many ways of skinning a cat, that's what they say. If, like the youth now are telling us, don't go to these public forums, talk everywhere, use digital, use the internet. And if we can embrace digital, do our meetings digitally. I think if you remember the time of COVID, a lot of things were done through digital, and I think that is even what gave birth to how our courts behave today, because you do a lot of cases online. If we did that, we could actually cut a lot of cost, because internet is almost, it's actually very cheap now, and it is quite affordable in many sectors. So I think in terms of budget, it is not that the president is starving these institutions, but the little pocket that we have, that we are sharing across board. Coming to the issue we're talking about today in terms of dialogue and whether there is trust or no trust, one thing we need to appreciate is that we have a leadership. And we cannot operate in a vacuum without leadership. So at the end of the day, we will need to all converse around the leadership that we have. We have the various sectors, the various players. We have the political leaders, we have the religious leaders, we have all types of leaders in all sectors, including the Gen Zs, who also feel that the way this country is being run is not what they expect. And they are raising two fundamental issues. One is that their youthful life is being wasted away because they are unable to get gainful employment that they can contribute to this economy. And I think the other issue that is coming out from their conversations is issues of corruption. Those are two issues that can actually be dealt with and addressed in one way, where we all sit and say, how do we create employment? Because a lot of this employment is going to the likes of China and those other countries that are doing development, and we become net importers of products at the expense of now employment. Because when we bring in a finished product into this country, we have exported employment. And if you look at our industry area, it is not the industry area we knew when I was growing up, because that was there, a lot of activity was happening. We need to get back to a situation where we add value to products. We don't just export raw products. We create employment through manufacturing that can come back into this country. And that is the discussion, and that is the kind of conversation that perhaps need to come onto the table, outside perhaps what position am I going to get and what position am I not going to get. And I liked that you asked Mheshimiwa Kibagendi, when you say one term, come August 10th, 2027, and you are now in office, what next? And as you can see, there is no formula, there is no direction. We should not be talking about, I gave you time, so give me time. We should not be talking about one term, just one term. We should actually be saying, this is what is ailing our economy, this is what is ailing our country, and this is what we need to discuss. I like that the Gen Zs or the
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done.
Grieving his daughter and duty. Government has told that chief not to speak about the death of the daughter. The chief is torn in between. He's having an internal conflict. And what we are saying is that, you see, normalizing killing is worrying. And I think this is what this government has done. It has normalized killing. You know, you die tomorrow, somebody says that you've been hit, you hit yourself on a wall, in the walls of the cells, and the matter rests.
You see, in July of 2023, the spokesperson Jeremy Lawrence of the UN called on the authorities to ensure that Kenyans are allowed to exercise their rights in accordance with the Article 37 of the Constitution, as well as end extrajudicial killings. At this point, you were squarely in government. And at that point in July as well, at 22nd of July 2023, these were your words. The coalition is disappointed with the statement of the UN as it fails to condemn the opposition for resorting to violence after losing the ballot box in a free and fair election. The opposition has latched onto the global dissatisfaction with the high cost of living. You further went on to say the National Police Service and other security organs have exercised great restraint in the face of obvious provocation by well-organized and well-funded saboteurs trying to bait them into excessive responses. Back then in 2023, you were okay with police brutality in the country. How then today do you say extrajudicial killing?
I think you've intentionally misunderstood that statement, because the statement is very clear that after the 2022 general elections, opposition should not use other ways to get into government. They should respect the will of the people. The will of the people was that the Kenya Kwanza administration was the one that was duly elected. And therefore, the opposition should not go on the streets and use other mechanisms to get into power. And we have said, by then, the police restrained themselves. You remember during the Unga Revolution, we did not have such numbers that we are having right now.
But Kenyans were killed.
I don't have the statistics as of now.
Yes,
but all along we have been condemning, and we have always said that taking away life from somebody is the last thing we can resort to. And whether it was in 2023, 2025, 2032, any person who takes away life from another should not be entertained.
At that point in time, when you were the Secretary General of the party, did you do anything as Secretary General to ensure that the police who killed innocent Kenyans who were demonstrating during the Unga Revolution are brought to justice?
You know, as a Secretary General, you know the roles of a Secretary General. It's not to, the role of a Secretary General is to speak on for the party, and I spoke for the party that we cannot allow an opposition which has not been duly elected get into government through dubious ways.
But you equally spoke and thanked the police, yet we know the police spokesperson is there to speak for the police.
No, I thank the police for restraining themselves from killing people. Because, you know, if you read that statement, it's very clear that the police actually restrained themselves even when they were being provoked. They restrained themselves. So I don't know what changed. And I think when we started interfering with the police, this is when this kind of indiscipline has gotten into the police force. Murkomen, being the CS for Interior, his work basically is to implement the policies of that ministry, but not to give commands to police officers. We've seen the guy walking around police stations and giving police officers orders. When did the independence of the police service be interfered with a civilian? And therefore, we would like to call upon this government to ensure that they respect the structure of our constitution, whereby the police are given independence. But as it is right now, we have people seated in cabinet wanting to command around, and even others not seated in cabinet. We've seen fellas moving around and commanding police officers just because they enjoy proximity to presidency. And we are saying that we call upon the IG to ensure they exercise the independence of the police service.
Malala, you've said one time, you've said this country needs a regime change. Do you see yourself and your party leader, Rigathi Gachagua, as that solution? When we advocate, and when these young people called Gen Z advocate for regime change, we also must be alive of the fact that for us to change this regime, we must engage into a political process, whereby removing William Ruto cannot be removed. He cannot be removed through hashtags. We will need a political process, and therefore, us, we are there to enable and to help and to facilitate the removal of this man through a political process. And therefore, in this place, do you see yourself?
Of course.
And your party leader Rigathi as that change?
Why not? Okay. Why not? Because we've been on the forefront advocating for truth in this country. We've been on the forefront advocating for equality in this country. Myself, personally, if I speak for myself, I have done everything humanly possible to fight for humanity, to fight for fighting vices in our community, even to an extent of doing plays, educating the public on means in which we can have equal distribution of resources in this country. You remember the play I did in 2013, Shackles of Doom? It spoke about equal distribution of resources. You remember the play I did in 2018 called It Is Well. I did a play castigating police brutality. You remember the play I did this year, during the drama festival, Echoes of War. So I have gone out of my way, tried all means, tried the means, or the official means, the unofficial means, the entertainment path, to bring change in this country. And therefore, I cannot do it alone.
Now that is
I require you.
That is you as Malala.
Yes.
Now, my other question is, do you fear you'll end up in the same position when you supported Ruto with your whole heart, with your whole soul, your whole mind? Supported Ruto, then things changed. Now you are next to Rigathi Gachagua, who, by the way, is in the US, and he has said quite a number of things. And these things that he has said is being accused of being reckless, violent, and an uncouth dictator. And Rigathi cannot accept differing views, especially from his own community. And these are the words that are coming from Kiunjuri as one of those examples, because Gachagua went all ham on some of the leaders he disagrees with within the Mount Kenya region. And he's actually telling people not to re-elect these leaders and calling them the greatest enemies of our community. And so those who are perceived not to go with Rigathi Gachagua are deemed to be greatest enemies. And yet, you are the party leader to this. Do you fear that you might end up being in the same position as you are with Ruto?
Life is a process that we all live. You cannot project your next course of action. You only have the ability to know or to control what you have at the moment. Whatever happens for in your life in future, you have no control about it. But what I believe in, those statements being
by your party leader,
no, by Kiunjuri, to me, I think those guys are paranoid, because my party leader is exercising his rights as a politician. He's mobilizing people around himself. He's mobilizing his community around himself. And therefore, he has all the rights to say that, come on, do not elect these people, because these people bear certain tags of leadership attributes which do not align to his school of thought. And therefore, he has no problem at all saying that do not follow Kiunjuri. In fact,
it's in the way he says it, because the accusation here is that Gachagua harbors a lot of bitterness.
But that
and he seeks to revenge in a very violent style to settle these political scores for selfish gain. That is what he's being accused of.
Not for self. Interpretation of of somebody's character is subjective. I can say that she is beautiful, and maybe through your lenses, she's not beautiful, and therefore, Kiunjuri's interpretation of Rigathie's attributes is subjective. If he thinks that about Rigathie, I think otherwise about Rigathie. I see him as a truthful man, as a person who believes in equality, as a person who is fighting for social justice, and therefore maybe if you look at him if the truth emanating from Rigathie's mouth is not pleasant to you, you will look at him as a bad person.
Another truth that does exist with Rigathie Gachagua is he is known as the share master. And we know that when you got into government, he spoke about shareholding and how much was supposed to go where. But here you are moving and making sure that you you form government. How then are we sure that these shares he's talking about will not be a conversation moving forward? How sure are we that the 30% that was supposed to go to the Western region through Musalia Mudavadi and it will end up there, and that Kenyans will feel as if this government is theirs and not shareholding for those who voted for it?
Rigathie Gachagua was simply verbalizing the Kenya Kwanza agreement. The coalition agreement was deposited in the Registrar of Political Parties office. And that agreement clearly stated how the government, through political appointments, will be shared. Political appointments. It did not say that government, through Public Service Commission, this share will be given to these people, this share will... No. He was directing his sentiments to political appointments. As I told you, forming government is a political process. We have communities which come together to form government, and therefore they agree during, and even post on how to share those positions. The formula of sharing Kenya Kwanza government was encapsulated in the Kenya Kwanza agreement. And that is what exactly Rigathie Gachagua was articulating. And therefore, do not feel bad when he articulates something that has been signed and written and deposited in the office of the Registrar of Political Parties. To me, I don't find that as offensive. Shareholding is just a form, or he was expressing the contents of the Kenya Kwanza agreement. And therefore, to me, even me, as we get into government, I'll be asking my people, because I'll be representing my constituency, my people, what will my people get in this government? And that is what forms a coalition, and that is what motivates people to even come and vote for their preferred candidates. Apart from their ideologies, that candidate will be selling. And therefore, I got nothing wrong against the shareholding narrative that Rigathie used to propagate.
In that time. It's a long road ahead, but thank you for being here this morning, Deputy Party Leader. Like I said, a lot to unfold in the coming days, just days, and months to see how this goes forward.
But just before that, we also must call out the hypocrisy nature of our president. Recently, you saw him saying that he's ready to be castigated. he's going on to build a church of 1.2 billion Kenya shillings at State House. You know very well that Kenya is a secular state. Kenya is not a religious state. But the president goes ahead and says he will continue building that church. But the hypocritical part of it is when, a week later, he goes on and votes to legitimize LGBTQ. So here you are saying that you are holier than thou, you want to build a church, and then the next week you are sent to something that is going to decompose the moral fabric of our young people. He's now legalizing same-sex marriage. Is this a church-going president?
Those are questions, isn't it? And those are things that are being
and we need to call him out. Let him stop this hypocritical nature. When he tells you left, he means right. When he tells you up, he means down. And therefore, as the president of this republic, he must correct those mannerisms.
Cleophas Malala, thank you for joining us here this morning. It is now 2 minutes after 8. Until the next time we talk again, good morning.
Mara na mkumbuke vile askofu ametuambia hapa Jubiri. Askofu alisema rubbish in, rubbish out.
With the IBC commission now in place, we want to see urgent recruitment of voters. We want to see a new voter register.
Okay, so the final word goes to you, Mheshimiwa Karoli Omondi. JB Muturi is a former speaker. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka is a former deputy speaker of the House. And we are here. We have an election in 2 years. Is there a role that Parliament can play or should play?
Yeah, I think with respect to the upcoming general elections, I think the boundary review process, we have run out of time. So I don't think that will happen. That because I think there are constitutional timelines that have basically run out. What really surprised me was how we could go for more than a year without an IEBC. That really shocked me as a member of Parliament. And despite the court cases, and even when the legislation was being processed, we tried to make some amendments so that the new members of IEBC, their tenure would be staggered, so that they would not all retire at the same time. But we again just continued with the same usual. I think there's a problem in Parliament, and most people like to say that the executive has captured Parliament. But there's a more fundamental problem. Forget about the executive capturing Parliament. The political parties are the problem in this country. The political parties have made, if you look at most of the political parties, the quality of leadership of the people that come through those political parties into public offices, and you compare with what was happening 10, 15, 20 years ago, you can clearly see there's a mismatch in terms of qualifications, experience, even dedication to public service. I think the political parties, we have to find a solution. The capture of Parliament by political parties is much stronger than capture of Parliament by the executive. And political parties limit their members in that house on how you should conduct yourself, how you should, what bills you should bring. In fact, without the support of your political party, you doing a private member's bill requires a lot of skills just to push it through. And your own party will go and stall those bills. Yes. They will stop you from speaking onto some issues. They'll stop you from engaging across the aisle. We have a problem, and that is why I've even proposed political party funding be extended to independent candidates. Because our constitution gives two pathways to elective office. Either you can be a member of a political party, but parties are not elected in Kenya, individuals are elected, or you can stand as an independent candidate. There is no reason to deny independent people political party funding to seek their office. But I wanted to say something about IG Lagat.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Homa Bay, where Albert Ojwang comes from. There's been a lot of confusion. And people are interested. People have contacted me from Homa Bay. They want to know whether IG Lagat is back in office or whether he's not in office. Because IPOA says he has not been cleared. Yeah, let me begin by saying at least he did the good thing by stepping aside to allow the investigations.
Right.
But now I want to address IPOA, not even IG Lagat. I think the problem is IPOA. The issue here is that the complainant in this particular case was an Deputy Inspector General of Police, not an ordinary complainant.
Right.
So that raises the question, yeah? Did they, and we want IPOA to address these issues in their report because they say they are still compiling a report. So I want to put these questions to IPOA. One, they have to give us a report on whether the IG's position as a complainant affected the conduct of the investigating officers. We need to know.
Okay.
We need to know whether there was communication between the IG and the investigating officers between Friday and Sunday.
All right.
We need to know whether the IG had access to the suspect. But most importantly, we need to know whether there were some instructions issued or exchanged during that 36 or 48-hour period. And they also need to address the question whether his return will, while the cases are still pending in court, will interfere with public trust. In other words, this is not just a question of criminal culpability of a public officer. It is a question of whether the police service has the necessary standing orders and regulations to deal with complaints where the complainant is a senior officer serving in the service. Yeah,
okay,
thank you.
all right, thank you so much. Quickly on the feedback that you've sent us at Citizen TV, Kenya Samgi took the hashtag to use the Citizen Daybreak, what are Kenyans saying this morning? Lekishon Laban, you're saying that history is repeating itself. Ethnic mobilization, rigging, threats, and inflammatory talk are back. While the youth speak in one tribeless voice, our leaders are busy stoking tension. Kenya needs a voice of sanity now, or history will repeat itself in 2027 polls. MC Romaz, reckless talk by politicians will ban this country. They are trying to rally people along tribal lines. The era of Mtuwetu is long gone. Speaker Wetangula talks about Kalenjin defending president. Defending him against what? Enough of tribal animosities. Sir Nixon Tugirem, leaders who are recklessly addressing the public should be subjected to owning their dangerous and ruthless talks by recording statements with the DCI. It will help in tracing who to hold to account should the nation plunge into chaos. Thank you so much for that. And Mheshimiwa Attorney Kibagendi, Mheshimiwa Gathino Mushomba, Mheshimiwa Karuli Omondi, and Marian Kitani, thank you so much for making time for us.
Raila Amolo Odinga that is doing policy of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Traffic.
All right, let's take a look what's happening with traffic now. It is busy wherever you look. On Mombasa Road, we're going to keep an eye on that specifically because there's inbound traffic. As you're coming in from right around that General Motors turnoff, you will then find traffic all the way through towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, then joining in with Lusaka Road coming in from the north. So that is crazy, guys. And also, I beg your pardon, from the eastern side. It's crazy because that construction is going to go on for some time and we're going to see traffic all through. And so it's coming in heavy also on the eastern bypass and in and outbound on the part of Outer Ring as you then touch on Mombasa Road and go towards the Cabanas interchange. So that's doing that on that side. There's traffic on the Thika Superhighway coming in from Kiambu Road as well. And then what we see coming off of Ngong Road is not too worrying, but we'll keep an eye on all of that for now. But you'll find coming out of Westerns for the most part, there is some traffic on Lower Kabete going towards Spring Valley, and we'll see some of that develop even further into traffic hour. Let's talk and let's keep things moving. We'll talk Spice FM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It is now 10 minutes after 8 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Ndu, Dennis and Dennis with you. I always say it's a place where you can pick your Dennises. So go ahead and do that because they're there in a plenty. As we get into connecting this morning, Mr. Okari.
Oh, yes. And there's several ways to just get connected. For now, let's talk about Safaricom Home Fiber. We all know installation is free. So that stable setup comes for free. Maintenance is also equally free. In case you have downtime, you get 5 GB of data as you wait for within 24 hours to get sorted by Safaricom. But maybe you're asking yourself, okay, I may not have Safaricom Home Fiber because I don't have fiber in the first place. If you don't have fiber in your area, you don't need to stress about this because that's where 5G steps in. You get the router, which is portable for 2,999 Kenyan shillings. And where can you get this? Visit any Safaricom shop, visit masoko.com or visit a Quickmart supermarket or dial star 400 hash to just make that switch. Safaricom feels good to be home.
Absolutely. And then if you're thinking about planning for your wealth, what you do?
When you think about your wealth, one of the great things that keep on people stay awake at night is the fact that all that you've worked for a very long time gets disappeared, either through downturns or through bad environment and bad advice. Now, that's why wealth preservation and risk management are key pillars at Standard Chartered Priority Banking. Now, their expert teams don't just guide you, they protect your assets from market fluctuations, economic shocks, and unexpected risks. Now, add to that their specialized investment advice and portfolio management, and you're good. And you got a recipe. Those overwhelmed by endless options from real estate to international investments, you get expert help to optimize decision making. It's not just about growing wealth, it's about growing wisely and with clarity. Your path to smart, protected, and informed wealth starts with one email: wealth@ke@sc.com. wealth.ke@sc.com. This is your time.
It absolutely is. And it's about that time where we have a conversation with a man who's in the hot seat. He's a gubernatorial aspirant for Nairobi. His name is Tony Gashoka, journalist turned politician, but still somebody in spaces that we can have conversations around today on public discourse. And he's in the hot seat this morning. Tony Gashoka, good morning.
Good morning there to you, and happy to be at Spice FM.
Good to have you here. At least we're doing something today that's never been done.
That is?
Having you in the hot seat.
As a veteran jamaa wa hii mambo ya media, I would be actually late not to have come to Spice FM because they're leading voice in the morning. It's the place to be.
Well, thank you that we're here, that you're here. And as we get into this discourse, we'll be talking around issues about whether we're actually sliding into authoritarianism. We'll have a look at that. And of course, the different political intrigues that come into that discourse are necessary for us to look at the moment. But before we do, Dennis Aseto has taken us to a country far off in the west part of Africa. And he'd like to share a proverb, which we'd love your interpretation of.
So the country has a population of around 230 million people. Earlier this week, we woke up to the sad news of the former president having passed on. We are in Nigeria. The president talking about is the former president actually of Nigeria. Now, when you talk about Nigeria, there are different foods and cuisines that they have. You talk about jollof rice. There's always jollof for who has the best jollof, either Nigerians and Ghanaians. In studio today, we say Nigerians have jollof rice.
Because you don't have a choice.
Best,
because
the
you
best
want to live till tomorrow.
But aside from that, now they have fried rice, they have egusi soup, they have obono soup, okra soup. Okra is especially when you have it with something they call swallow. Swallow goes really, really well. But let's go to the proverb. Swallow for another day, right? Now, the child who washes his hands eats with elders. The child who washes his hands eats with the elders. How would you interpret that, Tony?
Well, that's a fantastic way of saying it. It's part of preparation in life. The fact that you're in the company of older people, you begin to learn courtesy and mannerisms. The foundation of every individual is character. Psychology defines behavior to be caused. And to understand behavior, you must understand the reasons and the causes of behavior. So children at the onset of life are actually molded. They their character made by actually doing things that they see older people do. So washing hands in preparation to eat with elders is part of that journey of preparation.
Wow. Indeed.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and of course in Ghana you have gali. And here we have ugali. And of course with the subject of today, you know, I'm just flabbergasted to actually live in a country where in less than a year and a half,